Folks, welcome to the show. Today we have some esteemed guests with us from Open-Ended Games, who are the producers of this very fine RPG product. Not exactly brand new at this point, but there is a brand new product that we will talk about. We have Max and Nick here from Open-Ended Games. Guys, thanks for coming by and doing this interview with us. I'm delighted to have an opportunity to talk about this game that I have played only a one-shot of, unfortunately, but that I like very much. So let's talk about, and I'll let either of you answer this question. We have Max, who is the lead writer, and Nick, who is the lead layout individual. And they are open-ended games, and you guys the company is headquartered in Italy. Is that an accurate statement?
No, it's actually headquartered in the U.S.
Okay, okay. And you folks I will put a link to the website in the video description once this goes live so people can hop over there and check it out. But I think your primary storefront is through DriveThruRPG. Is that also accurate?
We have also the DriveThruRPG is the main digital store. Mm-hmm. But we also have our website where people can buy our physical copies and soon to be released also the new Open-Ended Games product, Secret of the Golden Thrones, which we just finishing fulfilling the physical copies for the bakers on Kickstarter, and then we're gonna move it all. We want to push more of the stuff we have on our website. So if someone wants to buy the physical copy, they can go on our website and order physical copies there. We still have core rules available there. So if people want to grab a physical copy of the core book, which is this one here.
Yeah. The same that you have there. Yeah.
And a mighty tome it is. Folks, I've got a flip through of the game, so check that video out. And by the time you see this video, I will also have a flip through of Secrets of the Golden Throne for you to peruse as well. It is a very impressive product.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's talk about sort of the inspiration. I mean, obviously there's tons of role-playing games, right? And there's tons of fantasy role-playing games in particular, right? It always has been and remains our most popular TTRPG genre. So what inspired what made your team sit down and say, we should publish an RPG, and this is what we want it to be? What was the inspiration? I mean, I know what the inspiration is, but I'll let you guys explain.
So we are a very huge MERP. I don't know how to actually pronounce the acronyms, but
you're good.
Middle role-playing game, the old RPG from Iron Crown Enterprise, and Rollmaster, which is basically the granddaddy of MERP. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted to, since we played a lot of both the games in our yesteryears when you were young and beautiful, and we wanted to create something that could give the same emotions, the same kind of tales and adventures that we had with that game. And so basically we had this idea. I think we were actually playing the game when we. I don't know if you remember, Nick, but
so I think we were just me, Max, Tom, and I, and Paolo, which is also part of the team. We know each other for a while now. Tom and Max especially date back a while, and me and Tom date back a while. We all come from different towns. I mean, me and Tom come from the same town, but Max, he comes from a different part of Italy. But, through forum, they know each other, and we used to play like 48 hours of D&D or whatever role-play game we used to. We used to come over to Perugia. We spent like 2-3 days just playing. And when I moved here, we still kind of kept in touch and play online whenever we could. And we just finished Back Me campaign, the old Back Me. And we started Middle Earth.
And basic expert companion.
D&D Red Box. And we started a campaign in MERP. and we like, we have our house rules. Why don't we homebrew it? And from there, one thing after the other, we decided to make our own game and to mainstream whatever was there and add, modern elements to it, and all of a sudden becomes a creature in itself. And we tried it to Kickstarter. We opened up a company here, opening the games and whatnot. And now we're here, I think 6-7 years later, keep pushing content and try to find time between kids and work to work at this. So I think sort of does sum up the journey that got us here. If it makes any sense. I rambled a little bit, but I hope it makes sense.
So what I found appealing as soon as I heard about the project, right, was that the sort of mechanical heritage with MERP and Rollmaster, and I strongly appreciate that core idea, right, because those are games that I had a lot of fun with back in the day, and that I think a lot of I struggled to come up with other game systems that I played that I felt carried the same level of excitement in play, due in large part to the way the combat worked, right? The combat was always exciting and frequently deadly, as you'll both be well aware of. But the other cool thing here is that it is really easy to kind of take that model, and I think the game has a very clever distillation of sort of the model of the epic fantasy that we're all familiar with from Lord of the Rings or Wheel of Time or whatever, right? And kind of distilling that down and introducing some more narrativist elements. So let me ask a little bit about what steps you felt when adapting those ideas to modernize the game and produce it in a sort of modern 21st century RPG system.
So I said we wanted to part recreate the same type of games that we had back in the days, and also we wanted to we felt that this kind of tales, this kind of classic epic fantasy with clear-cut good and evil and big bad wasn't really represented very much, despite it in the RPG world. Despite it being very popular thing. Yes, you can play that in Dungeons and Dragons. You can play that in basically every RPG that's out there. But there aren't many RPGs that actually focus on precisely that milieu, that those tropes. And we were kind of nostalgic for it because there are lots of grim dark RPG or more weird fantasy, and we wanted to recapture those kind of tales because they were our youth basically. So we went back and tried to ask ourselves how did we do that? How did we create this kind of stories, those kind of tales and adventures? And we tried to formalize the process through the rules. And obviously, it helped us a lot the fact that meanwhile we played lots of different games, such as the Burning Wheel, which is another huge inspiration from the game, or Nick and Tom also played a lot of the Riddle of Steel, if I remember correctly. So
I remember the Riddle of Steel.
Well, it makes the three of us because I don't think many more other people remember that.
I will bust in with an anecdote. One year, the publisher of the Riddle of Steel was at Origins, the big game show, which I believe at that point was in Columbus, Ohio. And I probably a dozen times over the course of the 4 days that the dealer's room was open, I would walk up to them and inquire about the Riddle of Steel. And I'm amazed that they did not call security on me at any point during that convention. I may or may not leave this anecdote in the interview in the editing process. I was absolutely obnoxious.
I think I believe that the melee sword system in that game is probably one of the most fun and complete and system I've ever seen in role play game. The way it was thought out. The sword is a sword or your own weapon. It was pretty impressive. You can tell that they had a strong background in sword fighting, and you could feel it on the game for good and for bad. But it was very unique, I have to say, as a system. I was very impressed with that. But we're here to talk about something else.
Yeah, I get it. So let's actually talk about what both of you feel is sort of the heart and soul of Against the Darkmaster. What are if you had 2 minutes to describe the game to someone at, say, a convention that was clearly familiar with role-playing games, but maybe not with this particular game, what do you feel the essential elements in action, not so much the inspirations, but how it functions in play? What's the core essence of Against the Darkmaster?
I think so. First of all, it's the quick character creation and level up. The character creation is pretty straightforward, rather quick. I mean, once you have your idea in mind of what character you want, following the steps to create a character, it's rather straightforward. The combat, it's extremely lethal and brings back epic elements. There are somehow lost in recent roleplay game publications, and I think brings to the table chances to be heroic and epic once again, with big stakes and heroic deeds, and a lot of charts.
Mm-hmm. Well, less charts though, right? I mean, that's the thing that scares a lot of people about, say, Rollmaster or even MERP. Yeah. Was there's so many charts. Without necessarily having played the game, you don't really know that you're never going to use all of the charts in any particular session.
No.
You need only a few. You need the one that you're gonna be. Basically, you need the one that related to your character that you created. I think at the end of the day, the player, not the GM, but the player probably when it's at the table, probably going to use one or two top this session. So routinely,
the charts are there to help you. Just so that you don't have to remember every single rules or every subsystem. Just visual aids for the most part.
And that was the beauty of the inspirational games as well, right? Was that so much of the system was built into those charts, and they weren't necessarily rules that you, the game master or players, needed to remember.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah. And,
so,
getting back to the game, I think one thing that Nick didn't want to into. Probably because I cut him out. But I think that we must absolutely mention the guy himself, the Darkmaster. I think is one of the core ideas of the game. So you will end up creating an actual hero that you will fight against this evil Dark Lord, which is far more powerful than you will ever be. It's kind of like Sauron from the Lord of the Rings. So it's not someone you can just go over and hit him with your sword or duel, because you'll just be smashed like Fingolfin if you want to get back to Middle Earth. But and this will create an epic story where your character and his or her companions will actually have to find a way of defeating this powerful entity. They may die because, as I said, the combat is very lethal in the process, but perhaps someone else will carry on their task, and hopefully you will be able to win over the forces of darkness. So I mean, this is basically the core idea of a game.
I really appreciated the sort of built-in campaign, like epic fantasy campaign frame that is kind of built into the game, and also the way in which it's integrated mechanically. So the game gives you some assistance, right? Some charts you could randomly roll on or pick whatever on to kind of help flush the Darkmaster and their minions out. But also the consequences of critical failures can attract the Darkmaster's attention, which I think is really awesome, because it doesn't mean that, I rolled an 05, so my head explodes and I'm dead. Which, it wasn't always like that in MERP, but, sometimes it felt like it, because I was gifted in making those kind of rolls.
Well, same
but that's a player in every group. It's always.
Yep. I could bore us all with hours of anecdotes from our decade plus of playing those games. But now, if I'm going to turn to that style of game, which I still find very attractive, it's too Against the Darkmaster, and it's more modern and streamlined take on it, on those same ideas. It's just way easier to deal with, right, mechanically, and in terms of like Nick mentioned, character creation is far more streamlined than it was in say Rollmaster, where some people I realized would take a long time to generate characters. I was pretty fast at it, but that was after playing it for 10 years every week too. So
as you mentioned, especially Magic has this embedded mechanic that whenever you roll a double on your roll, on your a modified roll on your die, there is a chance that you can call Detention of the Darkmaster. So there's always this figure that lures in the background on everything you do, that can, if you be too greedy with your spells, so you cast too much, might attract his attention, and they create all these mechanics are there though to create fiction, so to generate fiction, and even the failures are there to generate fiction. So as long as everybody at the table understands and agrees to these terms, I think they're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes, because I think that in those whole games, there are lots of results in the charts that were very fun to read, when you were going through, but in actual play, they kind of sucked, because your character fails a spell and goes into coma for 10 months, then wakes up and dies. It's clearly very funny, but not if it's you, So we tried to recapture those ideas, but trying to focus more on the type of narrative and type of campaign that we wanted, basically.
So let's talk about support. So the game was released. Am I getting this date right? 2020? Is that accurate?
So the first iteration of the PDF was released in September 2020. We started to fulfill in 2021 the physical copy. So I would say that 2021 is really the date that we released the final iteration of the first core rule set to everybody to enjoy.
Okay. And I remember looking at that initial PDF release and saying, oh, this looks cool. I need this. But let's talk about support since then, because since the release of the core game, there have been a couple of adventures and a Game Master screen and some support products, and leading up to the release of Secrets of the Golden Throne, which is just now fulfilling. So let's talk about your kind of strategy for ongoing support of this game system.
So we trying to provide all sort of products, from core rules to so we have our set of core rules, the setting of Secret of the Golden Throne, which is also that is about 350 pages.
It's big, yeah. I couldn't count
with-
because like the last 10 pages have no page numbers, and I was lazy, but it's 300 plus pages.
Yeah, 300 plus pages. You have new monsters. You have some new combat ability, some new combat techniques you can use. You have new magic, new kins, and cultures. So there's a whole sort of things that comes with the books, and only the adventure, which itself is really well written by our friend Max. And we released a couple of two adventures, about 30 page each, which are very good for dip your
I
toes
think
into the game.
it's actually still one. The second one should be released this month or next, because we released Heartbane after.
I know, but
Secrets
we have Legacy of Blood. We have
Silence of Dawnfell.
Silence of Dawnfell. We have also the core rules come with a campaign itself, which is the 3 parts. I think that when we play, we usually run like 10-50 sessions, and that is a great start. If you want to dip your toe into the game and try mechanics and use the pre-generated characters that are in the book. But besides that, we recently released magic spell cards, so to support spellcasting characters, because the magic system in our game is based on spell lists. So according to the vocation you choose, you have access to certain spell lists, and as you progress in your level, you have access more spells in that specific list on multiple lists that you choose. But it's nice to have spell cards with the name of the spell in front of you, so you know exactly what you have available at that time, and how you can spend your magic points, which is the currency you use to cast spells. And we have a Patreon where we release monthly either new monsters or new rules or insights on the game, game master tools, and all sort of stuff. We're trying to support the game as best we can. Consider that.
Yes, but taking consideration that we basically are just 3 guys trying to watch the things. Yeah, we are trying to put out more content. We have a couple of shorts adventure coming. Actually, one is already out, and the other should be coming the next months. And 2 other longer adventures about the sides of the other 2 smaller adventures that we have, the Legacy of Blood and Silence of Dawnfell. So there's those that will be coming out in the near future, and we are planning also a monster manual.
A game master guide is about to be released.
Game master, yeah, because since the core rules seems to be difficult to purchase in some countries, we have decided to put print-on-demand version of the rules on TTRPG to make them more available. But just printing the whole core book by itself wouldn't have worked very well with print on demand, because it's a very thick book. So we just split it in half, and we have a player handbook and a game master guide that will come out very soon.
This is
550 plus pages in the core book, folks. It's big.
Yeah, I have for comparison here the player handbook, and
you see,
you can see that there's
difference.
We try to put it on a diet, and we just the player handbook has all the tools that you need to create the characters. It's pretty much the same thing as the core rules in terms of content, when it comes to the player-related stuff. So creating a character, combat, travel, the spell lists all are in there. So the GM would need also, the GM guide, of course, but player can play with that. It is available now on Draft RPG, and anybody, if they want to grab, even in those countries that we don't ship to, because unfortunately shipment, it is being quite a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, but
doesn't seem to be getting any better.
No.
Well, that is beyond all of our magical powers to fix, unfortunately. So,
yeah,
we will not be. So it sounds like you've got a substantial pipeline in the works of additional support products that are going to be coming out over the next year or two. Any longer term plans? I had thought of maybe like an expanded character options with more kins and spell lists and stuff like that might be cool. But you could mine this for the next 10 years, as far as I'm concerned.
We have a fairly long-term project we are starting to work on, and it's Against the Darkmaster related, but it's not really about Against the Darkmaster. Nick is laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. But let's just say that when we started this conversation, we talked a lot about fantasy RPGs and how they are. There's a lot of them, and so we tried to do something different for this project, at least. Let's say just say that.
Well, let's say I will be delighted to have you guys back on to talk about it when you're ready to talk about it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. We'll book you when we have a more meat.
Please do.
For now, it's very, it's just getting started, so it's a bit early to talk about.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, we've got a very nice game. I do have a question about physical presentation, though, because I noticed that I think that a lot of folks are going to expect like full color interiors nowadays. And I personally don't care. And I actually thought it was kind of neat to see the black and white interior because that harkens back to the inspirations, right? Very few of my multiple copies of the Lord of the Rings contain color illustrations inside. A couple of them do. But, looking back at the Rollmaster and the Merp stuff back in the 80s and 90s when we were playing those games, was that a conscious decision or just an economic one where it was?
No, it was absolutely a design choice. Tom, he's our art director, he also draw a lot of the artwork that you see in the book. He pushed for a conscious decision and a design choice to make everything black and white in order to appeal to our youth when we're kids and we were flipping through this book. They're all black and white, and somehow it brings you a little bit more sense of wonder when you see this illustration and you try to bring them to your table, without taking anything away from color. Mm-hmm. But they still touch those strings in our memories and our nostalgia that we really wanted to recreate and bring back for everybody to experience again.
Mm-hmm. And the interiors of the book, as I've just flashed, the interior of the book looks absolutely fantastic, too. I don't think it suffers in any way from not just being in black and white. And I think it's, like you mentioned, Nick, I think it's actually, it is maybe more effective for being in black and white. At least for me, it is. But I'm old.
So are we. Yeah, it's also easier to read, for folks with, a certain age.
Mm-hmm. That is also definitely true. Definitely true. So let's head toward a conclusion here.
It's approved by the American Ophthalmologist Association.
Very good. Very good. I have extensive contacts with them these days, as you probably could tell from the fact that these are about as thick as these are practically bulletproof. Let me put it that way. why I'll leave us with this. Why should somebody in a crowded marketplace play Against the Darkmaster as opposed to a different fantasy RPG that they might already be more familiar with or possibly very entrenched in? We'll start with you, Max.
I think that if you want a game that in a way forces you to make choices for your character and make your choices matter, make your the game actually about your character and obviously their companions, because there'll be other players with you. But then Darkmaster, Against the Darkmaster is the game for you. And also, if you're attracted, obviously, to that kind of old-fashioned fantasy, basically that classic epic fantasy, I think you will find in Against the Darkmaster a game that you will very much enjoy.
And you, Nick?
Well, if you're looking for a game that encompasses those old adventure we used to play when we were kids, or if you're looking for something high fantasy that brings that gives the player the chances to do something epic every single time, and to have a rather actually quick combat system. I want to say it's not the fastest, but combat matters when it happens, because it's deadly and lethal, and also very satisfactory because can be turns up not a drag, so to say. Some game have combat system that they last forever. Meanwhile, we're trying to create a combat system that it's pretty easy to understand, but still complex and strategic to play.
And as the host, I am going to take the liberty of answering my own question. But I kind of already did, because one of the attractive things here with Against the Darkmaster for me is that level of excitement that happens in the combats and in actions. That is, I don't see in as many other games as I would like. And some of those inspirational games had that, but Against the Darkmaster presents those ideas and that sort of flow in a much more modern and streamlined way that's way easier to deal with, certainly than Rolemaster was. And with, for me, just the right amount of narrative tools to kind of help guide the narrative throughout play, right? Without necessarily dumping this giant task of improv on me, the game master.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
But I think we didn't mention that we use the hundreds, and we have an open-ended system, which is basically when you roll a 96 and up, you roll again and you add the new roll to the 96. Let's say you roll 97, you roll again and you add that to your 97. The level of excitement that I see my players when they roll the 96 or 97 when you need it, it's just something that it's hard to describe. Everybody rolled critical in their life at the table, but there's something special when you used to play Rolemaster or Merp or Darkmaster, and you roll the 97 when you need that, because you know that can be really something meaningful that is going to happen, and it's going to open your door for something very epic that you will remember. I still remember a certain role that I did when I was a kid.
Yep.
A specific situation when you needed it was the dire situation, and you needed the 97, 98, and it happened, and it was the table was exploding in joy, cheerful. And
people high fiving and hooting and hollering and pumping their fists and getting up and dancing around the table. Yes, I have seen all of that.
About. You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. All right. So Nick and Max, I want to say thanks so much for coming by to give us a little talk tonight, and we'll have to have you back on when you're ready to talk about another upcoming product. And thanks to everybody who has tuned in this evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for having us.
Massive thanks to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, whose support and encouragement make what we do at Ardwulf's Lair possible.
Thank you, patrons. Links to help support the channel are in the video description, so check out the Patreon, the Ko-Fi, and the merch store where you can get snazzy Ardwulf's Lair t-shirts, drinking vessels, and other cool swag. There is also an affiliate link for Noble Knight Games in the video description. If you buy stuff through that affiliate link, it helps us support the channel with Noble Knight store credit. Thank you, Noble Knight. Until next time, thanks for watching, and happy gaming.